What happens when that dream of having a big family smacks right into the reality of your bank account? It's this super personal struggle, but it's one that's actually reshaping entire societies. And that's exactly what we're going to get into today. This massive clash between faith, family, and the crazy financial pressures of the world we live in now.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at the big picture, why families are shrinking. Then we're going to zoom in on a really fascinating case study, the Latter-day Saints. We'll see how their deep faith is bumping up against today's financial reality. After that, we'll pull back out to see a totally different trend happening on a global scale, and then we'll wrap it all up by asking, what does this all mean for the future? Let's get into it.
All right, first up, we're talking about a trend that's popping up in pretty much every developed nation out there. Families are just getting smaller. But the reason why? Well, it might not be what you think. This quote right here from Lila Taylor just nails it. 3 is the new 6. Think about that. For generations, especially in communities where big families were everything, having 6 kids, that was the goal, right? The norm. But today, having 3 kids feels like a monumental achievement. And this isn't because people's desires have changed overnight. No, it's because the entire economic landscape has.
And look, this isn't just a vibe or a feeling people have. The data absolutely backs this up. You look all over the world, and people consistently say they want more kids than they end up having. So what's the holdup? What's stopping them? Well, that gap between the dream family and the real family, it almost always comes down to dollars and cents. The dream of a big family is just hitting a hard brick wall of financial reality.
Okay, now check this out, because this is where it gets really interesting. This number, 1.8 children per woman, this is from Utah, a state that's, long been known for its super high fertility rate thanks to its family-focused culture. For decades, Utah was way, way above the rest of the U.S., and now it's plummeted. To see this kind of drop in the absolute heartland of big families, wow, that is a massive signal that something really fundamental is shifting under our feet.
So to really get a handle on this shift, we need to zoom in on the Latter-day Saints themselves. For so long, they've been a total demographic outlier in America, which honestly makes them the perfect case study for what's going on.
So what's at the heart of Latter-day Saint culture? It's this deep, profound focus on family. I mean, the church teaches that having kids isn't just a blessing or a joy. It's viewed as a sacred obligation. And that one core belief has shaped everything, creating these really distinct demographic patterns for decades. And that's exactly why their story is so fascinating right now.
And this chart right here really drives that point home. It's not just that they historically had more kids, they actually want more kids. Their ideal family size hovers around 4 children. That's a full child more than the US average. That's a huge difference, and it just shows you how deep that cultural commitment to a big family really is.
And that commitment, well, it fueled some absolutely incredible growth. Just look at this. You go from 6 members in 1830 to a peak growth rate of almost 5% a year in the 50s through the 80s. That's explosive. But then you get to the 2020s, and that growth rate has been chopped by more than half. Oof. And that slowdown, that's where the real story, the real conflict begins. Which brings us right to the heart of the matter. This is the big collision, right? You've got this powerful pro-family faith on one side, and the relentless economic squeeze of modern life on the other.
Man, this quote just says it all, doesn't it? Children are becoming a luxury. Emotionally, they're priceless, of course. But financially, they are just becoming out of reach for so many people. And what's happening is that the idea of a family is shifting from like a basic foundation of life to a lifestyle choice. And it's a choice a lot of people feel like they just can't afford to make. And you can see that conflict laid out so clearly right here. On one side, you have the cultural values. Children are a blessing and obligation. And on the other side, you have the brutal, cold, hard math. I mean, just take Salt Lake City, right? The heart of this culture. Median home prices there went up 94% in a decade. 94%. Seriously, how are you supposed to square a spiritual calling to have a big family with that kind of economic reality? Okay, and if you need one single piece of evidence for how big this shift is, this is it. This was the old wording from the church handbook on surgical sterilization. Just listen to how restrictive this is. It should be considered only if there's a serious medical risk. And even then, you were supposed to consult with your bishop. This was a decision that had direct institutional oversight, period.
Okay, now look at the new wording. Everything has changed. All those strict conditions? Gone. The part about having to consult your bishop? Also gone. It's now described as a personal matter for the husband and wife.
I mean, that is a night and day difference. It's a massive shift from the institution being involved to it being about personal autonomy.
So, let's be clear. This isn't just some minor edit in a handbook. This is a quiet but really powerful acknowledgement from the church itself that the economic squeeze on its members is very, very real. It's a huge sign that financial pressure has become so intense that it's reshaping one of the most intimate, personal decisions a family can possibly make.
So, okay, the story of the Latter-day Saints is one of a faith adapting to these intense economic headwinds. But, and this is a big but, that is not the only story playing out on the world stage. To really get the full picture, we have to look at a completely different global trend.
Because while some religious groups are facing these demographic headwinds, especially in the developed world, there's another major religion that's on a totally different trajectory. We're talking about Islam, which is the world's fastest growing major religion.
And the numbers here are pretty staggering. Just look at this. Between 2010 and 2020, the global Muslim population grew by 21%. The rest of the world's population grew by 10%. So we're talking about a growth rate that is more than double the rest of the planet. It's just a massive demographic wave. So the natural question is, what's behind this incredible growth? Well, it's really a mix of a few key things. First, on average, Muslim populations have higher fertility rates. Second, they have a younger median age, which is huge. It means a larger portion of the population is in their prime childbearing years. And third, migration is a big factor, like we saw with refugees from the Syrian civil war, for instance. All right, so now we have these two very different stories playing out across the globe, right? One is about adaptation, about slowing down. The other is about rapid expansion. And when you put them side by side, they force us to ask a really big question about what comes next. So let's just recap. On one side, you've got the LDS story, this deeply held cultural value that's being forced to adapt to the economic headwinds in a developed country. On the other side, you've got the story of global Islam, where high fertility and migration are driving this huge demographic boom, especially in developing regions. And the main takeaway, the thing to really remember, is this: there is no one-size-fits-all story when it comes to faith, family, and finance.
And all of this brings us to our final big question. In a world where the economic pressure just keeps mounting, especially for younger generations, what is the future of the family? Is it going to become a luxury good that only some can afford? Is it an act of faith against all odds? Or is it something else entirely? The answer to that question isn't just about individual choices. It's going to define the future of entire cultures and nations.